everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Omnichannel Marketer. This is your host, Kate Stevens. And today I'm joined by Rachel, founder of Rootine. Hey, Rachel.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here.
Likewise. So why don't we just start out with your personal story?
Yeah, happy to share a little bit more. So it really helps to go all the way back. So I started in a household, or I lived in a household where holistic health was really part of my everyday life. It was ingrained in me. So what I was doing across nutrition, across lifestyle, across movement, how it was helping me prevent illness. And then if I got sick, what I was doing to try to get better faster. And fast forward to early in my career, I'm in my early 20s, I'm working 100-hour weeks, and my body started breaking down over the course of the first couple of years. And I went back to the supplement aisle because I was like, okay, holistic health, this has helped me in my past. But I was really surprised because there was a very little innovation. It was very overwhelming figuring out what I was going to take, if it would work, and how I would even tell if it was working. And I saw this just general lack of science-backed, effective solutions in that aisle. And it was really different to what I was seeing in my day-to-day life as a banker working in healthcare, tech, and services, where there was tons of innovation across technology and data science and using more science-backed approaches to really help people improve their health and improve their patient experience. And that was really my light bulb moment to say, hey, we should be able to take a lot of this innovation that's happening on the healthcare side of things and move it to the holistic health side of things. And that's really what Rootine does. We are on a mission to create smarter health solutions for your most vibrant health, starting with supplements and at-home lab testing, and really being one of the first brands to combine the efficacy and science-backed approach with accessibility in especially our new supplement line.
So take me through the customer journey on like what Rootine is and, when you use it.
So our core products are our functional drink mixes, which are adaptogen powders for sleep, stress, and focus. And their names kind of tell you when you actually take it. But for our stress product, it's really, you can take it whenever you're going to feel stressed. And all of our products are created to work really quickly. So it's not something you're going to take over a month and then start to feel something. Most people are feeling effects in the first 20 minutes. So I like to take stress before like a big meeting, or it's also my kind of wine alternative. I have 2 little kids, and when I put them into bed, instead of grabbing that glass of wine or that drink that I used to do, I'll grab stress. It gives me that calm and relaxation feeling. Plus, it's going to give me the long-term cortisol management benefits, which I'm really looking for. Sleep, you take it about 30 minutes before you go to sleep. And then focus is really like our nature's Adderall, where it's going to help you with cognition. It has choline in it, which is really important, especially for women's health. And it gives you that little energy boost, that ability to focus. So if it's something where you're sitting down in the morning, you want to get a lot of deep work done, that's a great time. Or on the weekends, your kid's napping for an hour and you want to clean the house and get all the things that you have to get done, that's also a great time to take it.
So, I know that you're a mom of 2 and that has become like kind of a big part of your brand. Could you tell me a little bit more about, I guess it's also part of just the story, and, a mother myself would love to hear just like a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So I founded Rootine before I became a mom. And then throughout my experience with Rootine, I became a mom and then a mom of 2. And then I'm in my mid-30s, started dealing with all these health issues, especially after postpartum, and dug into it further and realized that I wasn't alone. So women in their 30s, 40s, and 50s, so this millennial and Gen X woman is dealing with excess stress, more burnout than ever before, more overwhelm, and just sleeping terribly, leading to all sorts of daily symptoms that I personally also was experiencing. So I was having sleep issues. I was really stressed, and that was showing up as trouble losing weight, especially postpartum, despite doing all of the things that you're supposed to do, like the walking and the workouts and the nutrition. It also showed up in digestion issues. And at the end of the day, I was also, as a founder, this is not surprising, but like a founder, have 2 little kids, I was so easily overstimulated and just being so irritable. I wasn't showing up like I wanted to as a parent. And that's really when around the time we at Rootine launched our cortisol test. And it was through that I figured out that my cortisol was just really imbalanced. It was actually too low in the morning and too high at night. And it just means I was stuck in this chronic fight or flight for a really long period of time. And ever since then, that was about 18 months ago that I really figured this out. I started on this cortisol balancing journey. And it was through that too that we really dug in deeper to the problems and launched these products alongside it. And so I'm a very heavy daily, multiple times a day user of these products because I'm so passionate about solving these problems, but also someone who experiences them herself.
So talk to me about where you initially launched the brand to, what the brand looks like today and how, the strategy has evolved.
So we launched initially with our Smart Multivitamin, which is D2C only. So it's custom dosed to your biological data. You can't sell that really anywhere else other than your website. So we started as a D2C brand, and we were talking to high performers a little bit more at that point. But as the brand evolved, as our customer base evolved, that's really when, as my own experiences evolved, that's when we evolved as a brand in terms of the product suite and in terms of the messaging, how we're showing up online. And now, I guess about 3 months ago, we launched on Amazon. We're scaling really quickly, faster than I ever expected to scale on Amazon. We're now launching on TikTok Shop, and we're going into retail as well. So we're in a number of independents and then looking to scale up the retail platform.
And how do you think about the different channels that you're launching in?
My view of commerce, especially in and around this space, is that it's really omnichannel, and the future is omnichannel. So making sure that you're playing in all of the key channels, but doing it really strategically. So making sure that, for example, from an Amazon perspective, we are first order profitable. We're on the ROAS perspective. We're looking at ROAS specifically on Amazon, but we're not spending above what profitability looks like. And then from a D2C standpoint, we're still spending, but we're first order profitable from a CAC perspective as well. So we're being really strategic about how we think about that. And then from a retail expansion, we're really thinking about who our customer is, where she's shopping, and then what makes the most sense from an overall perspective. So if we're spending a lot of time on digital and building out organic content, where is that really going to resonate from a retail perspective and where maybe it doesn't make sense to go in first?
So yeah, let's dive into retail a bit more. How do you think about the right retail locations for your customer, and what does some of that content show up or where?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we're still very early in the retail journey. I don't have a ton of learnings yet, but we're having a lot of success specifically on the West Coast. We're in a number of independents right now. And then when we look at what the national opportunity is, our customer is a Whole Food shopper, they're a Sprout shopper, they're a Target shopper. And that's really what we're seeing in terms of our demo and who's purchasing now, but also as we think about growing our overall organic and brand presence. I now have an audience of 103,000 nationally, but we're also scaling up across Routines, Instagrams, et cetera. And that will really resonate with the Target shopper as well and help once we get into those retailers to make sure that we're at the velocities that we need to be at.
And what do you think has, worked so well on Amazon?
Honestly, it's a lot of founder-led content growth. So I, throughout this experience, have started sharing my journey online. I saw this trend about emerging probably like 12 months before I started. So let's call it like 2 years ago, a little less than 2 years ago, where we just saw people wanted more vulnerability. They wanted to follow people over brands. They wanted to be a part of the story. They wanted to hear the journey. And I was not someone who was showing up online anywhere at this point, but I saw it. And I also knew that we were building out this consumer brand and in the process building out these products that I was resonating with personally. And that's when I was really like, okay, I'm just going to try it. I'm just going to show up. I'm going to try to get consistent and figure it out. And over the about 8 months between hitting go for real and now, I grew to 105,000. I guess we are averaging 8 million impressions monthly. And a lot of that is driving organic growth across Amazon and our other channels.
Okay, I'd love to dive into this a bit more because I don't know if you know this, but I've been employing a similar strategy more on the B2B side, but I believe in it. I'd love to learn a little bit more about your strategy and even dive into tactically how you manage that.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard, right? Especially as a founder to actually make that commitment because it takes a lot of time. A lot of people, I think, try to outsource it at the beginning, and that is the absolute wrong way to do it because it's going to show up so inauthentic, and then you're never going to figure out what actually is working and what isn't, and you can't create processes around it. So what I did at the very beginning, and I actually just did a LinkedIn post on this, is I committed to showing up 5 days a week for a month on TikTok. And I chose TikTok because I was scared to go on Instagram, to be completely frank, because like I was on Instagram, like my friends were on Instagram. I like didn't want to be on Instagram. It felt too cringy to start. But TikTok, I was like, no one knows me there. I have no followers. I'm just going to learn this world. I'm going to learn like what is the type of content that you can produce? How do you produce it? How do you do the research? What's the deal with keywords? Just like really just dive in and start to honestly like look like an idiot and just try stuff. And it was that commitment for that month that gave me the confidence to then go to Instagram and just try stuff and see what hit. And it was really like, okay, what's the type of content that's going to work? What's the topic that works? How do we piece it all together? And the other thing, I don't know if you do this as a founder too, is I really pay attention to time ROI when it comes to content creation. And the ROI is both what's the reach and what's the impact from a conversion perspective. And I've nailed it down. I did it for probably like 4 months. I was just testing and trying and doing all sorts of different things. I went on Instagram because that's where our core customer, every one of our core customers is on Instagram. Some of them are on TikTok and some of them are on LinkedIn. So that's why I chose Instagram first. But I kept testing and trying and testing and trying. And all of a sudden I was seeing like, let's call it like 5 to 7K views on my posts. And then one post hit 25K. And I was like, okay, I'm going to dig in here. I'm going to recreate this post. Slightly different video, etc. Then it hit 125. I was like, okay, I've got something here. And then I recreated again. And then I was like 6.5 million, 8 million,
Wow.
5 million. And then that's when I found my topic. And that's kind of how I found my strategy. And then from there, I went from 15K to 85K in 3.5 months.
Wow. Okay, so what is your topic?
Mental wellness, everything that we're doing here in and around routine, but specifically related to cortisol. So cortisol and sleep. It's something I think about every single day. It's the topic our product solves a lot of this. Focus, people with clarity or cortisol issues deal with brain fog. People with cortisol issues deal with sleep issues. And then our stress product has a bunch of adaptogens to really support it. So it worked for the business. It worked for me. It works part of my own story. And a lot of it's B-roll with educational content around it. So B-roll takes very little time to create. Yes, there are a lot of tips and tricks around what you're actually doing in the B-roll, when the movement happens, all of that I had to learn and get really good at. But generally it can take me, I'll film like once every couple weeks, and then it'll take me about 20 minutes to post after writing out the content. So it doesn't take a lot of time, but it definitely has a high impact at this point. Now I'm trying to expand into TikTok and the other platforms. I've also been on LinkedIn during this entire process too. But that's more of like the work side of it, what I'm doing behind the scenes, giving people in a glimpse in that capacity. LinkedIn's harder to grow that fast on.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so what is B-roll?
It's a great question. It's like, I've been in this. So B-roll is like, and you'll go on social. So B-roll is someone like doing something. So this is video, right?
Yes.
This podcast. So for example, I'm going to take my hand's going to start here, grabbing my Stanley, taking a sip of my Stanley, putting it back, putting text on top of it.
Okay.
That's B-roll. So it's just like someone doing something.
Okay.
A lot of it's wellness oriented. So like, for me, it's in a sauna, or maybe it's like making one of my drink mixes, but it's just like an action that's happening behind the scenes versus like someone talking at you. I don't do a lot of those videos quite as much.
And so this organic content, you're clearly seeing kind of growth. Is that primarily coming from Amazon?
It's coming everywhere. The organic content is also, so my newsletter, I launched a newsletter 12 weeks ago. I've got about 15,000 subscribers on that too. So it's going to my newsletter, which is also driving traffic to our D2C site, and also on Amazon. So most of the organic growth is showing up on Amazon right now.
So it is a you, Rachel newsletter versus a routine newsletter.
Routine has the newsletter too, but me, Rachel, has the newsletter as well.
Okay. And how do you think about the brands together and, how they speak to one another? Because I'm super fascinated by this. I know, again, as like someone who's employing a very similar strategy, but in a B2B founder brand work. It sounds like you believe in that too. And we're approaching it for two different businesses, but okay. So content on Instagram, newsletter. Do you have other channels?
I show up on LinkedIn, so I'm on LinkedIn too, and then I'm just opening TikTok right now, and that's it. But I'm similar. I believe that if you're a founder, I don't care what industry you're in, I don't care if you're B2C or B2B, showing up online and creating that thought leadership and online presence is the future. Because it's the only way that you're going to get in front of so many people so fast. You're going to learn faster. You're going to get greater like surface area for luck. You're going to get customers. Like it just works.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to put the time in. You can't outsource it. That's the number one thing that I say to everyone. Like it has to be you. People want to follow you. So you can't
Mm-hmm.
have someone else being you.
And so I know you did this initial test. Like, what convinced you to invest the time? And then what were kind of those early indicators of success?
I knew it. I just knew it in my gut. I was like, this is going to work. Like there's nothing bad is going to come from this.
Mm.
And like, I just believe it. And I'd seen it. If you look at the landscape specifically in CPG and consumer, around the same time, you also saw this influx of celebrity-led, like major influencer brand launches, which there's a lot of awesome brands that are that capacity. There's also a lot of problems with that if somebody's not, it's not their core day to day.
Yeah.
And then you did see like some of these founders almost becoming influencers, but more on the B2B side. So
Mm.
like I saw it on Twitter. I started to see it on LinkedIn, and I was like, this could work. Like why are there not more founders doing this on Instagram? I know
Yeah.
now why, because it's really freaking hard. But yeah, I just kind of knew it in my gut. And then when did I start seeing it work? So we put our products up on Amazon, and that's a beast of it in and of itself to get on Amazon. And then the hardest part about Amazon is the cold start, because you got to get people to buy your products. We went up on Amazon and we sold over 300 units in like the first week because of my content.
Mm.
And that was like huge because it pushed up our organic ranking. It started getting us reviews. It like basically allowed us to launch Amazon. And that was also around the same time of the turning point of like, I was just hitting like views after views after views. And like, I was going viral like weekly. And so that was further.
Mm-hmm. And so, as you think about like investing in this strategy, like further, how do you think about that?
Yeah. The other thing that my content did, because the brand and Routine is not Rachel, and Rachel is not the brand Routine. We're just very connected. But what we've proven is that influencer, because I'm now calling myself an influencer, works for our brand specifically. And what we can do too is through my content, we can test what works really well. Whatever goes viral, we can then try to whitelist it for paid. And then we can, now we're standing up new strategies across influencer and UGC that amplifies basically like taking what I do and 100xing it. At the same time, I'm continuing to do it because as much as I can do, I'm only one person. And so if I think about, all right, imagine if there's 10 of me or 100 of me, what that's going to do from a revenue perspective. And that's what we're kind of looking at right now. And influencer is not something we've done very much before because it never really worked.
Interesting. I'm fascinated. Okay. So does the content on your brand side, does that become the connective tissue, or how do you think about, as an omni-channel brand, what is that connective tissue across all the channels, which are very different channels?
Yeah, it's really the content. It's the founder story. It's my personal health journey, and then the journeys of our customers that look a lot like me. So we're serving millennial and Gen X women. I am a millennial mom founder that speaks to a lot of this. And so it's really community building, but also content building, education. And it's a conversation that not only is this market underserved, but everybody is wanting to have. They're wanting to find natural solutions. They don't want to be on sleep medication. They want to live a more balanced life, and they don't want to feel like they're constantly overwhelmed and stressed and all the things. And they want to hear about it from people that are relatable, have their same experiences. They don't want some like 22-year-old guy building out a supplement product for the like 40-something mom. I mean, they'll buy it maybe, but it's not like, that's not where the loyalty gets in. And so that's kind of the connective tissue right now, but it all works together. It's the same conversation across the board. It's just said by different people.
Has your content helped you get in front of retail buyers?
It's starting to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, because I've heard that from other founders in CPG, specifically on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Like the way that they're showing up online, specifically on LinkedIn, has helped given them opportunities on the retail expansion side.
Yeah. I focused on where our customer was first. And so now I'm going to go back to LinkedIn a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, the fact that we're hitting crazy numbers from an impression standpoint right now. So that's helping us get in front of retail buyers.
Amazing. topical focus, something that you feel boldly or passionately about?
Personal brand was going to be my answer to that question. No. I can give you another one.
But it is a good answer. I
Yeah,
mean, like,
personal brand is that one, and it's scary, and I would just try to show up for a week and see what it feels like. That's, I think, the scariest part. There's also this other piece, and I love to say this, but most of the time, and this is with everything, right? There's like one big blocker that like really isn't a blocker, but it's just making it really hard for you to show up. For me, it was the fact that I didn't have professional photos to like have as covers on my reels on Instagram. Which, like, thinking back on it is like that shouldn't have been a blocker, but I just, it's like, okay, so if that's my like blocker in my head, let's figure out how to get past that blocker. I did it, did the professional photo shoot, got my makeup done, and just like did it. And I'm still using those photos today. And it was like the catalyst that allowed me to like do all of this other thing. So like figure out what your blocker is, whether it's in your business or you're not wanting to show up online because of why, and then like see how you can just get over that one blocker instead of all the blockers that are maybe in your head.
Yep. Love that advice. Okay, lightning round. Favorite omni-channel brand?
I should have had a better answer to this. I'm going to say Rootine. Can I say Rootine?
Sure. Of course you can. It's definitely the truth. What do you wish you could change about our industry?
I think that there's a lot of us that want to move a lot faster and push a lot further, more innovation, more efficiencies. And this industry, especially on the retail side of things, is just move slower than kind of every other startup industry that you'd be in.
Favorite podcast?
I love How I Built This. It's one of the OG podcasts that I listen to, and I still listen to it today. It is so informative. And it's so fun listening to the stories of founders that you have seen for years and getting kind of the behind the scenes on that.
Totally. I would argue that time I spent on How I Built This like helped motivate me into ultimately going to become a founder.
It's my ultimate hack when I get in those founder, like everything's like going to shit, like nothing's going to work. This is like that like mode. It's like, okay, I got to get up. I'm going to go for a walk outside and I'm going to listen to How I Built This and I'm going to get inspired. I don't feel inspired right now, but I know that doing that will inspire me.
I love that idea. Favorite newsletter?
I love Maggie Seller's newsletter right now. It's this like amazing mix between like beauty and consumer and VC, and it's really fun.
Yeah. Hot, Smart, Rich? Favorite social media channel?
Instagram.
Favorite book?
Right now, I would say I'm really...
Check that one out. And Rachel, where can people connect with you?
You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Instagram at Rachel SOP Sanders. You can also find all the links to my website, my newsletter, and then of course you can check out Rootine at rootine.co and routine_co on all of social. And we're on Amazon and live on TikTok Shop too.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed it. Bye, Rachel.
Thanks for having me.
If you liked this podcast, follow me and the Bridge page on LinkedIn and Twitter for hot takes and tactical advice. If you really loved today's episode, we'd love a review on the podcasting platform of your choice, Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Thanks for listening.